Welcome again to Wisdom's Cry podcast with your host, Mark D, where we give you wisdom on the go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm going to share something with you guys that I've learned over the years. Now, I'm a person that love the summertime. I love the sun. For whatever reason, when the sun is out, I feel energized, I feel alive. And then whenever it would rain, I would kind of feel almost gloomy. Same thing in the winter. And it's like my attitude would change. I didn't feel like going to work. I didn't want to be outside. And I begin to almost like curse the rain or curse the snow. But then I began to realize that all this is because of God. What do I mean? He decides when rain is to come. He decides when snow is to fall. Like, he is the master orchestrator of all of this. And if we claim that he is a good God and we claim that we want his will to be done, if it rains today, brethren, it's his will. If it snows today, brethren, it's his will. So in all things, give thanks to God. So I've learned to thank him for the sunny days and also for the gloomy days, the cloudy days, the rainy days, the snowy days, whatever days it is. I've learned to give thanks because it is his will, and his will is what we want, is what we desire. We need the rain for food. Sometimes we don't even think about that. If it doesn't rain, yeah, the farmers are going to be in some trouble. And we need the rain for our fruits, our vegetables, even for the meat. Right? Because we know the animals eat as well. So there you go. So give thanks to God for everything. So got a quick story for you. This morning, I was actually making breakfast for my two daughters. I have a son. He's 3 years old. He's not in school yet. But so my two daughters are in the kitchen. I'm making breakfast. And my son walks out the room, all drowsy and whatnot. And my 5-year-old says, he's high in the sky. I'm like, hold on a second. So, of course, my back was turned. So I had to do a quick turnaround, like, hold on. What did I just hear? So, I put on my investigative hat and I'm like, what do you mean by he's high? She looks at me and smiles and says, it's a figure of speech. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, where did she get this from? Like, I need to know what she's watching. I mean, I already know what she's watching, but I need to know everything. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch you. I'm going to see what else new you've been watching that I may not know about, or who are you talking to? Because you guys already know these kids are on these sim games with other people all over, talking through the sims and whatnot. My daughter told me about one, my 8-year-old, how one of them reached out to her and said, can I date you? And she says, first of all, are you a boy or a girl? And the person says, I'm a girl. So then my daughter responds, well, I can't date you because I'm a girl and I'm only 8 years old. And the person responds, can I date you? Can I date you? Huh? Can I date you? Can I date? So I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to get off the sim type games. All right. So yeah, parents, pay careful attention to your children and what they're consuming and what they are involved in. All right. So on today, we're in Proverbs 3. So let's see what wisdom on the go we can get or we can glean from this chapter. The title of this particular portion says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Verse 1, my son, and again, this applies to the daughters too. Do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. I want to say off the bat, a lot of times we can think about the commandments as just the 10 commandments, but everything that the Lord instructs us to do is a commandment. All right. So it's a lot of commandments that the Lord gives us, especially when it comes to certain situations in life. And that's what we got to really try to pay attention to in Proverbs. Let's continue. For they will add length to your days, years, and peace to your life. And that's so true, because I said this before. When you are living life righteously, right? You are obeying the law. You're doing the things according to the law of the land. You do not really need to think or worry about the authority is coming after you, or if you're not speeding but following the speed limit, you do not worry about being pulled over by a police officer unless something is wrong, right? So if you are following the rules or keeping the law, in this case, the law of the land, then you have peace while you're on your way to your destination. And even as it says, at length to your days, many times the days that are cut short for individuals is the ones that is living a life of wickedness, right? Of sin, of crime, for example. It's like what's his name? Is it Coolio? That rap song, Gangsta's Paradise. There's a part in it that he says, I'm 24 now, but will I live to see 25? I don't know. Can you imagine that? Like a 24-year-old saying, I don't know if I'm going to make it to 25. That's a pretty young age, right? So, yeah, I completely agree. Of course, I agree. It's what God says, right? It will add length to your days and years and peace to your life. Imagine how much of your life is taken away when you've committed a crime and you've gotten caught and arrested and you go to jail. Imagine how much time has been taken away from you, how much peace you have lost, how much life experiences with your loved ones you have missed out on. Right? So I want to encourage you, if you have experienced that, to continue on the righteous path. All right? Continue on the righteous path. Do not give any more of your life, your length of days, your peace to a life of crime. It's just not worth it. You don't even need me to say that. You know that. But sometimes we can feel trapped and we just need a voice to just say to us, hey, there is a better way. Life is so much more than spending time in a place like that. And I don't know your particular situation, but I know this. I know a God that knows every intricate detail of our lives, and He has a solution to every single situation we could ever face. I'm reminded of Hebrews 2:17-18, where it talks about Christ, how He has been tempted in all situations, and therefore He's able to help us overcome all of our situations, all of our temptations. But we just got to trust Him, which means if you trust Him, you're going to follow His commandments. You're going to keep His commandments in your heart. That's what it means to trust God. It doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you're going to keep His commandments in your heart. You're going to follow them. All right. Verse 3, never let love and devotion or faithfulness leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Imagine that. I don't know about you, but I never want my love and devotion for God or my faithfulness to Him to leave me, or my love and devotion and faithfulness to my wife to ever go in the opposite direction, to ever leave me. And I'm pretty sure you guys out there desire the same. Whether it's for your kids, your mother, your father, whoever it is, your loved ones. You never want that love and devotion and faithfulness they're supposed to have towards you to leave. But it's the same thing that God requires of us. That just how He loves us, that we love Him the same. Just how He loves us faithfully, gives us grace faithfully, that we also be faithful to Him. But here's the greatest part about that. Today, He gives us the Holy Spirit to help us remain faithful, because we can't do it on our own. The Bible's clear about that, right? So I don't want to fool you to thinking that in your own strength you can do this. That's why we need His Spirit in us to help us. Amen. But you must believe in order for you to experience God's help. Verse 4, then you will find favor and high regard in the sight of God and man. So do we see, here's another condition again, as we spoke about yesterday. Another condition. If you do these things, right? If you keep His commandments, if you remain faithful to Him, doing what he says to do, then you will find favor and high regard in the sight of God and man. I'm telling you, you'll find favor with God and man, which means all throughout your life, you're going to find favor. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Listen, there's some things that happens to us in life that we will not understand. There's things that happens to us where we want to find peace. And brethren, if you lean on your own understanding, you will not find it. You have to go to the Lord. That's why he says he can give you the peace that goes beyond understanding. Do you know what that looks like? It's when you have peace about things that you have experienced, and other people are like, this should have destroyed you. You should be in deep depression right now. You should be angry right now, maybe even angry with God, but yet still you have peace, you have joy. What's that about? That's the power of God, my friend. The peace that goes beyond our understanding, where people can't comprehend, but that's the God that we serve. But again, you can only experience this if you put all of your trust. Look what it says. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, with all of your being. You got to trust him. You got to trust him and know that he's the only one that can bring peace to a situation where it shouldn't be, not to our natural eyes and minds. He's the only one that can bring joy to a situation where there should not be any joy, not according to our natural eyes and minds. Only he can do that. Only he can bring healing. I mean, permanent healing. Because you know us, we like to cover things up and try to drown out the voices in our head or the situation, through either drinking or partying or drugs or whatever. Right? But the thing is we have to keep on going back to that in order to find some type of relief. But I'm talking about permanent relief. That is what he brings to the table. That's what he offers us. But what? You have to trust in him completely. What does that mean or looks like? You obeying his instructions. That's what it looks like. That's what it means to trust someone. I always explain it like this. I had a friend, very knowledgeable when it comes to finances, especially in the stock market. I didn't have much knowledge, and he told me, Mark, focus on index funds, right? On the long-term investments. And I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Now, this person, him and his wife, had mentored my wife and I for years, and they gave us a game plan, an actionable game plan that we use to pay off all of our debts. So he's giving me advice now about the stock market, and you would figure I would listen, right? Because in my mind, I'm like, I trust him. But I did the opposite. I went after penny stocks, after what I thought would be the next big thing, and these cryptocurrencies too, right? And guess what? Lost almost everything. I mean, thousands of dollars. And when I looked at it, I'm like, hold on a second. I didn't trust him. Many times we look at the situation and say, "Oh no, Mark, you do trust him. It's just that you didn't listen or take his advice." No, 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 no. We don't understand what it means to trust. Me trusting him, what it looks like, I would have done what he advised me to do. That's what trust looks like, brethren. Think about it. So when God says to trust me, it means to do what he says to do. That's what trust looks like. So trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. Yeah. Mhm. Verse 6, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. That's a very familiar one. But in all your ways, in all your actions, in all your decision making. But many times we will acknowledge the Lord, but we still act and do without even hearing from him. You know what I've learned to do? I've learned not to move until I actually hear from him. And here's the thing. Many times we try to feel our way through. I think it's God speaking to me. Oh, maybe that's a sign. And we're trying to guess and figure this thing out. We're trying to, again, feel our way through. Brethren, let me encourage you on today. He's still speaking. He is still speaking. Look at the book of Acts. You never see the disciples saying, "Oh God, I just got to feel my way through. Is this you, God? Is that a sign? Oh, a car just went by that's red. That means, that red car I saw that I've been asking God for, He's going to bless me with it." We try to find things to try to use it as a sign to say, "Yep, God is saying yes. Yep, God is giving me the green light." But when you see how God speaks in the book of Acts, it's very clear, like how you and I speak, like how you and I would talk. It's very clear. There's no guessing game. I'm telling you, Brethren, we got this all wrong. And we keep messing up and messing ourselves up, and then we're blaming God because we're not heeding to His instructions. He tells us that the Old Testament is written for our learning, but it's almost like we're not learning. We're not taking this thing on to walk it out. Yeah. Now I can tell you right now, this is a very long chapter. I think I'm gonna have to break this one up in a 2-part series. Let's keep going. So in all your ways, acknowledge Him, and don't move until you hear a clear answer. And many times it's in studying His Word that you will find the answers. I'm telling you, you'll find the answers. It's just like if I was to ask God, should I buy a new car right now? What does the Bible say? It says to weigh the costs. So that means I'm going to not only think about the purchase price, but I'm going to think about the interest I'm going to pay. I'm going to think about the taxes, the plates, how much insurance is going to cost me each month, how much gas is going to be, how much maintenance is going to be. I'm going to add all that up before I make such a decision, because many times we have went and bought the car based on how it looked and how it made us feel versus considering the costs. And if that was you, because that has been me, let's stop and use wisdom, godly wisdom. Verse 7, be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. What does that look like? It simply means to believe and receive what God has said and do that, to walk in that. So if the Lord says, for example, to keep doing something, and others come around me and try to tell me, well, Mark, this doesn't make sense. Look, Mark, it's going to do this or it's going to end up this way, and try to put thoughts in my mind to make me think that there's no validity to what God has commanded, and trying to sway me by showing me the end result of someone else doing something similar or whatever the case may be. It's a lack of the fear of the Lord is what landed Adam and Eve in the situation they were in, because God gave them commandments, right? But someone else came in and told them something else. And they decided to believe what the enemy said versus what God had already commanded. That's having a lack of respect for the word of the Lord. It's the same thing that landed David in trouble, because after he had did what he did as far as murdering Uriah and then sleeping with his wife, God says, because you showed contempt for my word. You showed contempt. That means that you knew, David, what I already commanded, that thou shalt not murder, right? That thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. You know that, David, but you showed such lack of respect for my word, such lack of fear, that I'm going to punish you. You see that? That's what the Lord said to David. He showed contempt for his word, for his commandments. So it says, be not wise in your own eyes. Because I guarantee you, David was trying to justify his actions in his mind. That's why it took a year for him to come to terms with it. Because many times we try to justify our wrongdoings. Mm-hmm. We always got to take it back to what does God say about the situation, brethren. Because if we do that, and we look in the mirror and face the truth, this is what happens. Verse 8. This will bring healing to your body and refreshment to your bones. Many times we try to keep things a secret. We try to keep things hidden from God as if we can actually do that. Or keep things hidden from our loved ones that we're supposed to be honest with, truthful with. And we think that that's best because we try to be wise in our own eyes, not knowing that when you keep these things in, it's gonna rot you from the inside. It's gonna rot you from the inside. But we need to come to terms with the truth, bring it before the Lord, and if it's something that our loved one, like a husband or a wife, needs to know, we need to tell them the truth. It may not look good at the moment, but God is able, brethren, to bring healing to the situation, to bring joy from the situation, to bring peace from that situation that goes beyond our understanding. Was not planning on going down this route, but maybe God is speaking to someone. Not even maybe, but I believe God is speaking to someone. I believe He is speaking to you. Be wise, trust in the Lord, and follow His commandments. Lean not on your own understanding. Follow the ways of the Lord. And I'll see you tomorrow, right here on Wisdom's Cry, Part 2 of Proverbs 3. Take care.